This morning, with a very heavy heart, I want us to remember those immigrants who were dragged out of their cars, their homes, their worship places, their workplace, beaten up, thrown in detention, moved around. Some even died. Now, this didn't just happen in Minneapolis. It happened around the corners, too. These are the disappeared people with no names. So far this year, 6 people died. This is only beginning of February. Think about this. Now, they said at the beginning, they're going to grab only those criminal elements of the undocumented people. But they cast a wide net. 85% of the people who were caught never had a criminal record in this country. Most of these people are already in what we call asylum seeking process. Many of them are already refugees. Then they say they're going to go after the people who came in the last 2 years under the Biden policy. But now they're going after anybody who's been here over 30 years. Think about this. From last year to this year, California right now has 6,400 people in detention center, which is doubled since last year. Many of them actually have citizen paper. At this rate, is anybody safe? I want us to remember Reverend Martin Niemöller's quote from Nazi Germany. He says, "First they came for the socialists. I didn't speak up because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unions. I didn't speak up because I wasn't a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews. I didn't speak up because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and no one else is left to speak for me." When trigger-happy ICE agents run amok on the streets, trample our Fourth Amendment rights, I think this fits a larger pattern of law enforcement overreach. I used to enjoy watching cop and robber shows on TV, you know, the kind that the agents would break down some doors going after the bad guys without warrant. Now, it's not funny. It's not entertainment anymore. On January 23rd, a few of us, UUs, answered the call and joined the protest in LA in solidarity with Minneapolis. We went not without trepidation, knowing that there will be but violence or trouble waiting for us. Good thing is that day, nothing happened. It was very peacefully organized. But what lurked around the corner is our government's ability to using facial recognition software to track us. Not only that, anytime we put something on media sites, anything electronic, we can be tracked. This is a pure violation of First Amendment rights. And now ICE is going after children because they know that will lead to their undocumented parents. I'm afraid we're becoming a police state. And when the threat of insurrection act will quickly make us look like Nazi Germany. As an immigrant, I learned that the primary difference between democracy and autocracy is the freedom of expression. When the medias, universities, businesses, branches of government surrender their voice of independence, when the freedom of assembly is being threatened, can we still call ourselves democracy? So I would say one night, many nights ago, I was sleepy, so I was looking at a picture. I couldn't tell the difference between a protest in Minneapolis and a protest in Tehran. I wonder if this is still America. But I look around the room sometime, you know, whether it's here or Lake Forest in the other congregation, I see love, compassion, generosity, and justice. This is the America I believe in. This is the America worth fighting for. All true faith-led movements are led by love. Throughout history, people of faith have been fighting for social justice for a long, long time. And they have always have a way to influence political agenda. According to Christian scriptures, they constantly command social justice, kindness, and love to strangers, to people we call foreigners among God's people, because they're citing Israel's own experience as a foreigner in Egypt. So I'm going to quote two verses, one from the New Testament, the Old Testament, the other one from the New Testament. Leviticus 19, 33, 34. When a foreigner resides among us in your land, do not mistreat them. The foreigner resides among you must be treated as your native born. Love them as yourself, for you are foreigners in Egypt. I'm the Lord your God. Matthew 25, 34, 50. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. Truly, I tell you, whatever you did for one of these least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. Now, throughout history, we UUs have also followed our 7 or 8 principles to put out our lives on the line for social justice, including the civil rights movement. Now, here is a quote from UUA's Side with Love, called the action on October 24th last year. In this time of authoritarian capture, when those in power use government and military against their own people, we are called to build the systems of care and safety that democracy requires. We are called to turn away from participation and compliance in systems that harm us, our neighbors, and our futures. Now it's time to turn that moral power into organized movement, one that moves in solidarity, aligns across the community, and is willing to be transformed in service to liberation. Now this morning, when we saw the video and listened to the song, Streets of Minneapolis, I'm sure many of us were moved, and many of us have many, many, many emotions. I just want to encourage us not to get mad, sad, or numb, but get going. Take action. It's time for us to use our moral power to turn this country around. Of course, sometimes resistance work is very hard and exhausting, like Reverend Collins' poem said. But we need to replenish, re-nourish ourselves so we can get going again. Throughout history, young people seem to see things more straightforwardly. They're willing to use their courage to be the sharp end of the spear. I'm sure many of you in this room have participated in the civil rights movement in the 60s. Recently, Gen Z protests had toppled 3 governments: Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Nepal. And remember that lone man stopping a column of tanks in front of Tiananmen Square protests in 1989. Throughout histories, revolutionaries, change leaders, and disruptors often are prepared to lay their life on the line for the greater goods. Last month, we celebrated Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, who also gave his life for the nonviolent civil rights movement he led. Of course, courage takes many shapes. First and most foremost, we gotta use the power of our voice. Don't complain, vote. Use our First Amendment rights, speak up, rally, protest, write your congressman. We cannot do this alone. They have tear gas, we have cell phone. They have guns, we have whistles. But if it doesn't seem like a fair fight, isn't it? But if all of us get up, we could create a tidal wave like those 8 youth in Southeast Asia. Secondly, we could use the power of our money. Remember the Montgomery bus boycott. During the Nazi Germany, many American corporations colluded with the Nazi government and profited from their brutality against Jews. Now it's happening again in this country, where many corporations provide funding, technology, and collaboration with Homeland Security and ICE so that they could track better and round up undocumented people. What we can do is called resist and unsubscribe, which means stop using the services of these technology companies, such as Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Apple, and many more. By the way, Jeff Bezos just killed Washington Post, which is one of the major media voice and also being the check and balances for the government power. So you could do all this, plus we could boycott directly some stores such as Home Depot and Target, who've been using their parking lot for the staging of ICE agents. We could go online to find more about who are these companies who've been colluding with the repressive regime, right? The other one is the detention center. They're mostly built by for-profit organizations who are contracted by this government and make money off of the numbers of beds and how often they get occupied. So when you look at your own investment portfolio, take a look at how many of those companies are in there. You need to get rid of them, as many as possible. So this is our way to fight back. Now, of course, we may not be able to get rid of everything that we're doing business with. It's very hard, I tell you. But we got to try. We can also donate money directly to feed the families whose immigrants, head of the household, have been grabbed. Next one, we could use the power of our court system. Thank goodness we still have some. There are a lot of brilliant and brave constitutional lawyers from ACLU and any other kind who are willing to stand up and fight this government in court. And then many immigration lawyers represent immigrants on a pro bono basis. We can donate monies to them too. Now, of course, there are many little things we could do. Chinese martial arts usually teaches us to say, don't meet our opponent's force with force. We got to use their force against themselves. For example, you can ask lots and lots of questions until your opponent ran out of logic. There's another little one we call the little menace, like people who would make a lot of noise in the middle of the night in front of a hotel where ICE agent sleeps. Just menace, right? And then there's another one, so a friend of mine who lived in Florida, surrounded by MAGA people. So she decided to put the banned books in the basket of her golf cart. She would drive around in their retirement community, offer these books to anybody who wants to read them. My other friend, who decided to go on Breitbart, which is a very right-wing social media site, and she would do fact check anytime somebody posts a conspiracy theory. Both of these women are in their 80s. It's not too late to fight, you know. Then there is Monk Walk for Peace. This is a movement that started in Fort Worth, Texas, 2,300 miles into Washington, D.C. Along the way, they inspire a whole lot of people. Then there's people in Oregon who draw up funny posters, wear funny frog costumes, just so that they could confront the ICE agent with a little sense of humor. Sometimes we cannot get real hostile when we run into a clown, I guess. So then there's also a whole lot of what we call alternative theaters popping up everywhere, where artists usually are the one who has the real gentle soul, who can gather us and tell us, remind us of our humanity. This is what's going on all around us. We got to participate in it, that's all. Now, we need to work like Buddhists, we call the spiritual warrior, who uses their broken heart, bear witness, and offer compassion to all the suffering. I attended a town hall meeting where a group of veterans remembered their My Lai experience. I don't know how many people in this room remember My Lai. This is during Vietnam War. A group of American soldiers burned down the whole Vietnamese village and raped and killed the children and their women. So when these group of soldiers came home from the war, they suffer from moral injury. Now, I worry many of these ICE agents, especially brown and black people, will have the same trauma one day when they woke up and remember they're the one who captured, kidnapped their own people's children and their women and the people who were sometimes even little babies, thrown them in the detention center, which situation is inhumane, without due process. Some even create death. I want to make sure we catch them when they fall. See, we do all these resistance work not because we want to make the other person into evil, but because we want to remind them of their humanity. Now, you may say, so does any of these resistance work even make a difference? Buddha's teaching us say, we do what we can with what we have from where we are. Buddhism also teaches us not to measure our individual progress because most of the time we won't see it. But what we got to do is have faith in the thousands and millions of people who are willing to stand up and do the right thing. Now, if we put our energy and spirit in the universe, one single spark can still ignite a forest fire. I also want to remind us that people of color in this country have suffered trauma like this many, many times throughout history. We can learn so much from their spirit of resilience. MLK's wife, Coretta Scott King, said, struggle is a never-ending process. Freedom is never really won. You earn it and you win it in every generation. It's a long fight. MLK's vision is to create a beloved community where all people can live together in peace. If we UUs truly believe in the interconnectedness of all beings, then we need to get up, continue to do our work too. Thank you.